35, 36. I forget which day it is, but we're at 34, 35, 36 of doing it scared. Whew. There is a lot going on in my life right now. It is a season of busy. It is a season of a little bit of anxiety. It's a season of stress. But what I am impressed with, what I am amazed by, is the fact that I'm able to get through it. And so often, we do not give ourselves enough credit for our ability to get through seasons of life. And I just want to encourage you and come on here and say that whatever season of life you're on, if it's one of anxiety or depression, you can get through it. It is simply choosing your next reaction. And what's really interesting too about that is that right now I am feeling extremely stressed out. I'm leaving today on another trip and be gone for a week for my family, which I don't love. And I'm stressed out about doing these videos because, again, it's going to be 4 or 5 full work days, and stressed out about doing these videos on top of all the other responsibilities that I have to keep up my business, to keep up the work that I do. So yeah, it's stressful, but I'm really grateful for myself because I've gotten through it so far, and I'm going to continue to get through it. And we'll see what happens. But every time I come to these situations get slightly easier to handle, slightly easier to disassociate myself from, become caught up in everything that's going on inside my body, because there's a lot. And I don't remind myself of that often enough. So I'm just on here to remind myself that I'm doing a good job. And I think that we need that, right? I mean, I know I need that. I beat myself up so much, and I don't give myself enough credit. I'm constantly doing things for other people, and not in a great way. I'm not sitting there to brag about it, but not in a great way. And a lot of times it's a detriment to myself. And in this season of busy, I'm learning that I can't keep it up. So though I am committed to the next month, 2 months of busy, I know that I'm going to start to take a step back from a lot of the stuff that I'm doing, which looks like outsourcing a lot of the work that I do, which looks like maybe making a little bit less money, but realizing that that's okay. I have a lot of issues with money, and I've talked about it before on here, but it's just such an interesting relationship with money. It's funny because I've always been okay. I've always made just enough, or I've had family that's helped me in the past, and like I've always survived. I've never been homeless. I've always had food. Everything has worked, right? And it's funny that we get so caught up in the what ifs and the anxiety of it all, that sometimes we forget the things that we have done, the things that we have achieved, the places that we've gotten. My kids and I this weekend we watched Inside Out 2, and it was a pretty good movie. But basically, without giving the movie away, it explores all the different dynamics of personality, right? And what happens when you let something like anxiety take complete control over your life, and the chaos that can ensue because of that. And you have to realize that anxiety is a good emotion, and it's actually not bad. We don't want to get rid of it. I think today anxiety gets a bad rap, and it's like, oh, I don't want to feel anxious. I can't do it. Anxiety's bad. Anxiety's bad. But it's actually not bad. It's just a response that our body has to keep us safe. That's all. So we just have to thank our anxiety for trying to keep us safe, and then reassure our anxiety ourselves that we are okay, that we got through every hard time before, that we're going to get through this hard time. And maybe even if the worst case scenario happens, that ultimately we will survive it, because we've survived every single one so far. And if we don't, it's still okay. It's just a reminder to ourselves that everything is okay. Everything's okay. A lot of that is me trying to convince myself of that truth. But in reality, it is okay. I have so many amazing people that I'm surrounded by at this point in my life. I am so grateful. I wanted to touch on, I guess, I was thinking about this today. You can't rely on others to save you. And I think that's true. I think that's true. I think that ultimately it comes down to you, right? No matter how much other people want to help, no one can ultimately save you from yourself. They can tell you, you can do this practice and that thing and this, and you can do this, all the stuff, right? They can tell you to meditate. They can tell you to journal. They can tell you to take action. But when it comes down to it, only you can choose to do that and choose how you respond to those things. So it's up to you in the end. But I also want to say that if you're in a really low place, or if you're in a spot that you just cannot pull yourself out of, there are people, many people, that are there to help you and give you a hand in those times. Because sometimes we do need pulling out. And that's okay. As I reflect, I'm just getting more comfortable with saying whatever on these and not following any strict guidelines or rules. I think eventually I will do more videos that do follow more guidelines and rules, but right now it's just getting comfortable with doing the thing scared, and that's what I'm doing. I'll continue to do it. I am, again, stressed out about the next few days because of all the problems that I had before with posting consistently, but I have continued to show up, and I will continue to show up. And though this is not the most opportune time to do this, and I have thought about quitting every single day, every single time before I hit record, I'm like, I should just quit. No one really even watches these. No one will know. It's okay. Just quit. You can't blame yourself. There's a lot going on right now. You can understand. They'll understand. And that's the thing, there are so many reasons to quit something. There's so many good excuses. And they all make sense. But eventually, you have to put those excuses aside for whatever it is that you want in life and just be like, you know what? I'm not going to listen to these excuses. I'm going to do it anyway. Yes, it's irrational. Yes, it's illogical. Yes, it doesn't make sense for the time of life that I'm in right now, but I'm going to do it because I said I was going to do it. And the most important thing that you can do for your life and for yourself is keep your word for yourself. Keep your word to yourself. Keep your word to yourself. Because you live with yourself every single day. And every time you don't keep your word, you hurt yourself. You hurt your self-confidence. You hurt yourself, your self-esteem. You hurt the view that you have of yourself. So, as I sip a Slate milk, if you haven't tried these things, they're delicious. I love Slates. But anyway, you have to keep your word to yourself. And at the end of the day, that's what I'm doing here. I'm keeping the word to myself. Keeping the word that I made to other friends, and saying that I'm going to show up for 100 days and do this thing, whether I want to or not. Life is unfolding for me. I've had a really hard time in the past with affirmations, so I've been posting on Twitter affirmations and every day, and I'm going to continue doing that too. I think I'm not committing to anything consistently, but I am going to try to do that because as it becomes easier, as you say these things, they become more true because you start to take action eventually. And if you don't, you're just hurting yourself, right? So what I'm starting to do is try to do more affirmations. So I'm going to end this, and I'm going to try to do an affirmation here. It's really difficult for me to do. I get a little bit shaky. Well, you can barely tell. Well, I feel inside shaky anyway. Get a little bit shaky and nervous, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to do affirmations, and that's how I will end today's video of random ramblings. Maybe I should call this random ramblings instead of doing it scared. I'm doing it scared or random ramblings. I'm just trying to document the journey, I guess, overall, because there's a lot going on, and maybe I should be a little bit more intentional about talking about exactly what's going on in my life. And if not for you, then for myself. But anyway, I am enough. I love starting with I am enough because it's hard for me to believe that. I am enough as I am. I show up every day for myself. I keep promises to myself. And when I commit to something, I stick to it. And I have grace and self-compassion and non-judgment of everything that I do. I understand that I am working and doing things to the best of my ability, and I will continue to do the best of my ability in all endeavors. I am open to opportunity and love. I am I'm enough. Money flows to me easily, and through challenges, I see opportunities for learning and growth. Everything is for my highest good. I want to judge myself harshly for that. All of those things, because it felt like it wasn't perfect. That's the point of this. The whole point of this is just do the thing. Just do the thing. It doesn't have to be perfect. We're messy humans. I told my daughter today, it's funny how I always say, I'm going to end this, and then I go off on a 20-minute tangent. My daughter today, she brought me a picture of her, she drew a hummingbird, and my son did too. My son's a really good artist. Ezra is his name, and he's a fantastic artist. I don't have anything within reach to grab, but he is amazing. Anyway, she tried to copy him, and she's younger than he is, and she had a little bit of a hard time. So she was beating herself up for this drawing. She's like, oh, I'm just not good enough, and it's not as good as Ezra's, and she just like lost it crying. And it was such a great teaching moment for myself and for her, because it's like, oh, honey, it's beautiful as it is. You did this. You gave it everything. She gave it everything. She gave it her all. And it doesn't mean she can't get better. But if she really legitimately wants to get better at this thing, particularly drawing, then she has to practice. Her brother's a year, if not more, ahead of her in drawing. So it's like, for her to judge herself in comparison to her brother is a silly comparison. She just has to compare herself to herself. And even that is a silly comparison, I think. I know a lot of people like to use comparison. I think comparison for myself is just it's not helpful. And maybe there's a time in life where it will be. But anyway, so I just, explained to her that it's beautiful, right? It's beautiful because she gave it her all in this moment, and it doesn't have to be perfect. Nothing that you do has to be perfect. It's okay. We're humans. And when you practice something, like me coming on here and talking, like when you practice, you get a little bit better every day. And you can sit and you can analyze it and say, okay, what could I do better? And be intentional about it. And that's okay too. But the point is, like, we don't need to sit in judgment of our actions. The only thing that we should maybe be a little upset about is, and we are upset automatically if we don't take action towards the things that we know we want to do. And if you don't want to take the action, that's okay too. If you don't want to be, for my daughter's case, a great artist, that's okay too. But just realize that next time you draw, it might not be better, and this is just where you're at, and you have to accept that and be okay with that. And maybe you want to be better at something else, and that's good too. So, man, my nose is always itchy on these things. So yeah. Don't be perfect. Just show up. I love you all. Thank you for whoever's out there watching these things. You are loved. You are enough, just as you are. And that can be tough to accept. You're okay. We're all just trying to figure out this whole floating through space thing. Not perfect, but we're getting there. Much love.